I've been looking for a book that perfectly embodies the ethos and the energy of this album right here, Brat by Charlie XCX. And as someone who talks about books on the internet, recommends books a lot, tries to match people up with a book I think they'll really enjoy, and specifically I do that in the context of pop culture, I really wanted to find a book that felt like the accompaniment to this album. And I think we struck gold. And spoiler alert, it's not this one right here. So the funny story behind this book is that it actually had been announced before Charlie's album, but was released after. Brat, and it's the same, but it's a novel, so it's not. Like, imagine writing a book called Brat and then finding out that a major pop artist is releasing an album with the same damn name. You'd be devastated. Anyway, this is a kind of weird and wacky horror book where the character is peeling off his own skin. It's insane. So although the titles are the same, that's sort of where you can draw the line between these two projects. The book that I discovered is this one. This is called Gunk. And I actually found this because I went to Hay Festival, which is a book festival in the world's first book town in Wales. As you guys know, that is a staple in my year. I go every year to chat to authors. I'm very lucky to get to interview authors. So this year I interviewed Caroline O'Donoghue and Ferdia Lennon. But later in the week, actually next weekend, Sava Sams is going to be interviewed at the festival. And I asked to interview her, but I did the first weekend instead of the second weekend, so I couldn't. And I was excited about her attending the festival because I love her short story collection, Send Nudes. I read this on holiday a few years ago and was just absolutely enthralled by it. And so when I found out that she was releasing her debut novel, I was very, very excited. And I think it might be my book of the summer. I'm just gonna say it. I know it's a bold claim. I know it might be premature. It's still only May, but I adored this book. I actually read it in its entirety on the train home from the festival. I bought it in the morning and by the evening it was finished. It's set in a nightclub called Gunk, which is a fictional nightclub on Brighton's seafront. Now, as someone who grew up in Brighton and had all my first clubbing experiences in Brighton, this was made for me. So there is definitely some nostalgia here, I will say. But I think that it captures the element of the party and the party that should be over, but it's still going and it's still fighting on. But also, and that's one side of the album. But I think the other side of the album and the other side of this book is the deep emotional turmoil and the existential dread of it all. So Gunk was described to me by my friend Maria as a book where you can almost feel the stickiness of the nightclub under your feet as you read it. And I think that is just the perfect description of this book. They should honestly have that on the cover. The characters all work in the nightclub Gunk, and basically our main character is called Jules. Now she meets a boy called Leon at the club, and they have this whirlwind romance and eventually get married very young, and then divorce 5 years later. He's been unfaithful to her, he's not a great partner, and she does not want to be married to him anymore, but they do continue to work together. Then a girl called Nim gets a job at the nightclub in the same kind of sleazy way. Leon sort of picks up young students and invites them to come and work at the club. So Nim is his newest recruit. Jules is in charge of the bar, so she's training Nim. And one night, Nim and Leon have a one-night stand, and Nim gets pregnant. Now, in the meantime, Nim and Jules have become quite close friends, and Jules has always dreamed of being a mother, but she realized in her marriage to Leon that she is most likely infertile. And after that relationship, she's kind of resigned herself to not really wanting that sort of romantic love ever again or anymore. But what she really craves is motherhood. And Nim doesn't want to keep her baby, but she says to Jules, "You can have my child. I will not terminate this pregnancy. I will go through with it. And when the baby is born, I will give it to you." And so she registers Jules as her partner basically when she has the baby, so that Jules is legally able to care for this child, and then Nim disappears. So there's really two sides to the book, just as I think there are two sides to this album. One is that kind of really emotional, tender side, thinking about the future, thinking about the family. It makes me think of the song I Think About It All the Time with Bon Iver, where she talks about the prospect of motherhood also. But then also you have the kind of party scenes and the drug benders and that kind of thing. Wait, this is a good time to show you. So I ordered this like special edition version of the Brat remix album, and it's so insane. I have no one else to show this to. Like, this is nuts. This vinyl disc that looks like a baggie. It's so silly, but the coolest vinyl that I own. I think it's two transparent vinyls kind of glued together with the powder in the middle, but how funny is that? So anyway, this is the only time I can ever have an excuse to share that. This book also captures the essence of being in your first apartment, which is kind of a bit scuzzy and grotty and dirty, but it's the first place that is truly yours and somewhere that you can claim complete ownership of. Everything in the apartment belongs to you, and if it's mess, it's your mess. And in a way, that mess is beautiful because it just belongs so thoroughly to you. It's a souvenir of survival. It's a souvenir of your life and your belonging in a place. Ultimately, I think this book is about the tension between chaos and control. Each character wants control in their own different way, but Jules specifically tends to sort of mother other people who are out of control and are bringing chaos into her life. And there's a great confrontation scene. I love a good confrontation in a book, and Jules and Nim have this incredible confrontation on the beach when Nim really kind of calls her out. And to me, this feels like a very British summer read because it's not set on a sunshine resort. It's not the White Lotus. It's not about this immense privilege. It's very, very ordinary and gritty in a grey seaside town. You know, Brighton has such a special place in my heart, and even on the rainy days, you know, they go to the pier and they order these sugary warm donuts, and I think that's what this book feels like to me, eating sugary warm donuts that warm up your insides while the outside world is drizzly and rainy and miserable. It just captures the essence of Brighton so perfectly. I'm actually so intrigued to know which nightclub Saba Sam's based this on. I feel in my heart like it might be Coalition, because Coalition, when I was growing up, we would have night outs called Trash Mondays, and in this book it's See You Next Tuesday, which of course spells out a word. So I could sort of see the similarities, both the sort of seafront nightclubs. So that would be my prediction. I would love to ask her one day if I ever get the chance to meet her, but this to me is just a masterclass in subtlety. The portrait it builds up of each of the three main characters is so expertly done. They feel like they could just get up and walk off of the page and into the room that you're in. And there's sort of this fragility to it because none of these three characters are perfect people. Each one is flawed and makes mistakes and is fallible. And yet, in a way, we sort of root for them. Even Leon, who's this sort of deadbeat guy, he's in his 40s and still trying to hook up with like 20-year-olds in the club. He just has never been able to grow up, and he has these absolute like drug benders, and which puts his life at serious risk. And yet, you really want him to be okay and you want him to be able to turn it around, and that is testament to great writing because they just feel so human. They don't feel like caricatures that you're just like, oh, whatever, that's just a straightforward villain, we're not rooting for him. Like, no, each character you have a place in your heart for. And so while of course it is not the same, I do think that if you like this album, you will like this book. And I'm very, very happy that I read it. I'm trying very hard not to describe it as excellent. And before I show you the other two books that I picked up at Hay Festival, I wanted to let you know that today's video is very, very kindly brought to you by Squarespace, which is something else I think is 5 stars. We got a 5-star album, Brat, we got a 5-star book, Gunk, and now Squarespace. 5 stars. Squarespace is a platform for building a website, and you don't need to have any coding experience or be an expert web developer because they have hundreds of incredible templates which you can use and customize and make completely your own. Squarespace has loads of incredible features, for example, the ability to make a blog, an email sign-up list, your customers can have flexible payments. There's also AI involved, but like the good kind of AI, the kind of AI that we should be using, where basically you can use AI SEO, which helps your website to appear high on search results. So, you know, you've gone to all this effort of making a beautiful website, now it can be discovered too. And one of the main things that you want to do with a website is make a good first impression. With Squarespace, that is guaranteed. So if all of this sounds good, you can head to squarespace.com right now for a free trial and use the code JackInTheBooks at squarespace.com/JackInTheBooks to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So head over there and start building now. And now let me show you the other two books that I picked up whilst book shopping in the UK's Booktown. So this one I've had my eye on for a while. It's called The City Changes Its Face, and it's by Amir McBride. It's 1995. Outside their grimy window, the city rushes by. But in the flat, there is only Stephen and Ellie. Their bodies, the tangled sheets, unpacked boxes stacked in the kitchen, and the total obsession of new love. 18 months later, the flat feels different. Love is merging with reality. Stephen's teenage daughter has reappeared, while Ellie has made a choice, the consequences of which she cannot outrun. Now they face a reckoning for all that's been left unspoken, emotions, secrets, and ambitions. Tonight, if they are to find one another again, what must finally be said aloud? Love rallies against life. Time tells truths. The city changes its face. I love this idea. I think even the title is so evocative of like how you renegotiate your relationship with a space once something in your life has changed. That means you no longer see the city through maybe the rose-tinted glasses you once did. I like the idea that a change in your emotional state changes the whole world around you. That if you are miserable, the city will annoy you, the city will frustrate you, the city will infuriate you. Whereas when you feel joy, you'll notice the beauty in the mundane and the ordinary things. I think that's a really great image, and that is just from the title alone. From the winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction, the Goldsmiths Prize, the James Tapp Black Memorial Prize. She's described as the natural heir to Joyce and Beckett. She is one of the finest writers at work today, by Anne Enright. That is high praise indeed. Supple, unexpected, funny, libidinous, a work of fierce intimacy, fearless in its descriptions of the inner lives of its characters, racked as they are by desire and hurt. This feels like it could be honestly another 5-star read for me, so I am very excited about this. I really hope it sticks to the landing. We'll see, but look out for a review of this book very, very soon. And then the other book that I picked up is by Laura Bates. So a few years ago, when I first went to Hay Festival, they did a thing called Thinkers in Residence, and Laura Bates was one of them, and so was I. You ever feel out of place on a lineup? Just imagine me being on the same lineup as like David Onasuga and Laura Bates. So a lot of the conversations at Hay Festival this year were surrounding AI and the way that AI can be used in culture, and its implications on culture, but also its implications on art and also its implications on humans and the ways that we interact with each other, the ways that we respect each other, the ways that we communicate. And so this, I think, is a very important component of that conversation, the new age of sexism, how the AI revolution is reinventing misogyny. AI is here, bringing a seismic shift in the way our society operates. Might this mean a future reimagined on equitable terms for women and marginalized groups everywhere? Not unless we fight for it. At present, power remains largely in the hands of a few rich white men. New AI-driven technologies with misogyny baked into their design are putting women in danger, their rights and safety sacrificed at the altar of profitability and reckless speed. In the new age of sexism, Sunday Times bestselling author and campaigner Laura Bates takes us deep into the heart of this rapidly evolving world. She explores the metaverse, confronts deepfake pornography, travels to cyber brothels, and hears from schools in the grip of online sexual abuse, showing how our lives, from education to work, sex to entertainment, are being infiltrated by easily accessible technologies that are changing the way we live and the way we love. What she finds is a wild west where existing forms of discrimination, inequality, and harassment are being coded into the future we will all have little choice about living in, unless we seize this moment to demand change. Gripping, outrageous, courageous, and eye-opening, the new age of sexism exposes a phenomenon we can't afford to ignore any longer. Our future is on the line. We need to act now before it is too late. Doesn't that just sound amazing? And also crucial. This feels essential right now, and I have every faith in Laura Bates to deliver this in the way that it needs to be, because she writes in a very accessible way. She has a total mastery over words where she can convey things that are so deeply important but also don't feel intimidating, and help you to articulate these things yourself as well in conversations that we'll all be needing to have in the coming years. And I guess what she's saying here is that year needs to be now. The time is now to discuss these things. And so I also picked up The New Age of Sexism. And I think that is a great little haul. 2 to read, 1 already down because I actually couldn't wait. I got on the train and just immediately devoured this. And so thank you so much for watching this video. All the best, stay in touch, have the most wonderful day, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.